Okay, so we just finished installing the Windows 7 virtual machine placeholder and formatted the file and everything. So now we're going to go ahead and install it. At this point, it's exactly the same as installing it on a regular computer, except you're going to see it in the screen over here. And if you were to put the CD-ROM drive in your computer and then turn your computer on, so we're going to power on, this is what you'd basically see. And I'll bring you right in through the whole thing. So here we'll see Windows is loading the files. It's taken the boot up file and it's now going with it, and the installation's proceeding. Typically this would be perhaps a little bit slower, but you have to remember this is right off my hard drive, so the installation does go a little quicker. Not to mention I am going to edit out load times just to keep videos short, and there's no point in watching unless I have something to explain during that time like this. Then I would go ahead and just cut it out, and then we'd continue on at the end of the load time. So here you can see the screen coming up. I'm going to click into the virtual machine to get it in, and for now I'm actually just going to keep this at this level right here to keep perspective. So go ahead and hit OK next to this. You can set your language settings and all that if they're different for yourself. If not, then go ahead and hit next. We'll say install now, and setup is starting. The installation is quite straightforward. A lot of people are intimidated by it, but I don't think they should be. Pretty much if you read excuse me, if you read everything on the whoopsie, I can't, okay, sorry, I went ahead. What I just did was I just chose, normally that option won't be there, but I just chose, I have two different options of Windows installations to use. Let's go with Windows 7 Ultimate. I'm going to accept the license terms and hit next. And for here, you're either going to upgrade to a newer version of Windows if you already have Windows on here, or a custom advanced install, which is a brand new copy of Windows. One thing to note of when it says custom advanced is generally not that much to worry about and get scared about. So just go ahead and hit custom advanced, and you're going to see our hard drive here. We have our 200 gigs that we set aside from a previous video, and at that point we can go to drive options, and I like to go ahead and make a new partition. And what this does is it sets the hard drive up to allow Windows. It installs what's called the file system onto the hard drive. It's basically like a phone book indexed to where your files are, and how the phone book is formatted is how it just reads the files and puts them in places for the operating system. In this case we're using NTFS, I believe, but that stuff isn't really needed. We're going to go ahead and use the entire thing and hit apply. To ensure that Windows features work correctly, Windows might create additional partitions. It creates its own boot partition, you'll see here, and that's just for a system recovery thing that it does. I'm not sure exactly what it does for that, but it reserves some system space to allow some core operating system files to be started in a separate partition. So we'll go ahead and format the primary drive that is 199.9 gigs now. And the partition might contain recovery files, system files. It's just let me know there might be stuff on it. System files or important software from your computer manufacturer. If you format this partition, any data stored on it will be lost. So if you're installing this on your computer, you're going to lose all the information on your computer unless you know exactly what you're doing. And if you don't, be careful here and maybe ask somebody who knows what they're doing before you move beyond this step. At this point, I have nothing on this computer that matters. I'm going to hit OK and allow it to happen. Now it won't take too long, and it'll format the drive and be completed and allow the next option here to come available. So we're going to click next, and now it's going to start copying the files. It takes the files that are copied and expands them on the hard drive, and then starts installing the actual programs and things from there. So while that unpackages and goes, I'll just sit back and we'll fast forward, or we'll cut this right to the end and see what we do. So here we are, the installation is just completing. So this should just finish any time here and finish this portion of the installation, which pretty much just a couple questions after this, and then we'll have ourselves a desktop to work from. You can see it's checking video performance, which means it's checking like the video controller and what type of power it's got, and basically putting in a basic generic driver until it can get something good. Let's go with, for user, let's go with lights a bit. Then type a computer name, network mines. We're good to go. Hit enter or next. Type in a password. For now, there's going to be a lot of rebooting. I leave the password empty. So let's, as our hint, let's try hitting enter and next. Our product key, we're going to automatically detect this. We'll put this, you can type this in at this point. I'm going to do it after and activate later as its own process. So we'll just skip that for now. But if you have the key, you can go ahead and put it in now and then hit next and you'll be good to go. I like to use, for improving Windows, I like to use recommended settings. Also, for my time zone with Atlantic Canada, and make sure daylight savings is changed, I verify the time and the date and everything like that, and we'll go ahead and hit next. For this, you can choose home network. It doesn't really matter which one you pick. I'd imagine there's different, probably default settings in these ones, slight, but vary. Just choose home network for now. Again, we'll go through all the settings manually at one point if you're interested. And if this video is old, then chances are I might have done it already. This here is a little view of the command.exe or cmd.exe, and this is an interface or shell, it's referred to as, which allows you to throw command or keyboard commands, word commands that will tell a computer what to do in different ways. It's probably being used now to test some type of internal scripting that's just made it pop up. And that's what it's doing. It's finalizing my settings. So that command line we'll get into at one point, and you'll see me use lots of that. Okay, so my virtual machine is going to reboot again. Windows 7 is going to come back up. And we should get prompted for our username. Or it'll go right to it. Because we didn't put a password in, it'll just log right in. There's only one user. Okay, so there's installing desktop files and things and preparing my profile where it's on c:\users/ your username, which I'll show you again another time what that whole profile is all about. For now though, just for your knowledge, that's what it's doing. It's preparing your desktop, and that's what it's doing in the background. Okay, so we come here to an interface. You can see the screen's quite small, and it's just, I don't know. Let's go ahead and upgrade this a bit. Thing real quick, if you install this on your own, you have no need for this. So actually, I'll stop this here and do a tutorial on virtual machine tools, so you don't have to watch that if you don't do that. So we have a Windows installation here, all installed and all set up, or not all set up, not set up at all. So I won't change any defaults. What we'll do is I'll make another video here. We'll go through and configure my desktop and how to do that. So let's go ahead and end this one now. I'm going to come out with a virtual machine tools video, and then I'll come out with a control this here, setting up Windows 7.